Welcome to day 3 of Liverpool Fashion Summit. We're talking about sustainability, and we are with Sarah Rafferty, one of last year's winners of the Sustainable Fund. Hi, Sarah. So why don't we start first, introducing yourself, and how did you get to start your own business in fashion?
Well, it's a bit of an unconventional route. So this time last year, I was helping cut scrubs for the NHS. I studied fashion at uni, but I hadn't touched a sewing machine since I left. So it was kind of like really nice to be a part of like that within the time that we've all lived through. But then that sort of like got me back into being creative because I had a full-time job, had a new role lined up, which obviously fell through because of COVID. So it was kind of, like a very organic route. And then I was just like, I've always kind of been interested in sustainability within fashion, and thought that I couldn't really find anywhere where I could buy clothes from where I was like, okay, I can 100% commit to knowing that nothing has been exploited, not the earth, not like anybody throughout the supply chain and stuff like that. And then with my spare time, I was like, right, I'm going to keep myself busy. And then that's how Three Sisters was born. So I just started like making dresses, and then it sort of like grew from that. But yeah, that's sort of
And
like.
what type of barriers? Because I mean, starting a business is hard, but in the middle of a pandemic, it's just the next level.
I really didn't realize how hard it was going to be. In my head, I was like, I'm going to set up and I'm going to launch in a month. And it took so much longer than that because I had to do all the sampling, I had to think about pricing, costs, where I was going to source my materials from, how I wanted to like interact with my customers, and then set up a website and start like selling. So it took a lot longer than expected, and obviously I couldn't go out and source fabrics. Like, I love going to feel things, and it's like such like a tactile part of the design process that I just couldn't do. So that was like definitely a barrier. And obviously considering the carbon footprint of the orders, so if I was going to order so many fabrics, well, that has an effect on the garment in itself. So yeah, it was definitely different and very difficult. Yeah, figured it out in the end.
And how are you finding it now? Was it worth it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely worth it. Like, I feel like I'm struggle not being creative, like mentally as well. Like, it really helps me as like an outlook. But it's really hard. Like, it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, and especially doing it on your own. Like, I've worked in companies where you have a design team, you have a buying team, then you have someone who's doing like logistics and then website and socials, but to have to do it all, I didn't really think about just being like a one-woman show like that. It was really difficult. And I'm not as good on social media at all, so that's definitely something I found like the hardest, and sort of like try and forget about. But that's how you sell, or you can sell at the moment, is online. So you have to sort of think about that.
And well, yeah, I mean, multitasking, it goes in the job, let's say. Yeah.
To-do list. Take everything off.
Probably you will be fine. Next year you will be hiring and you will be covered. And how do you see the future of fashion? Because, well, there's a lot of people talking, and the customers are claiming for more sustainable brands and also more sustainable practices. Where do you think we're going to go to?
I think it's really exciting that consumers are demanding this from brands, because it's making people look and think about it, because if they don't change, they're not going to sell. And fashion is a business at the end of the day, and I think it does come from consumers. Like, people need to demand that from who they want to buy from. I would love to see like more inclusivity within fashion, on so many levels. I think that's something that I'd love to push in my own work as well, because I know that I can focus on it and everyone should do better and like push to do better. But also I think rental would be really exciting, and I think that could even be like a new form of shopping. There's been so many people like that have popped up in the last couple of years who are doing rental online, but a lot of it is like luxury, high end, and is quite expensive. So I think for sustainability, like it is a luxury to shop sustainable, and that is something else that I would like to see it become more available to a wider range of people who might not necessarily be able to buy into the brands that are expensive, because that's the way the world is at the moment. Like those fabrics are more expensive, those supply chains are more expensive, and it takes a lot of time to set up. So I think that would be something that would be amazing if, I just suppose it's just like capitalism, like just push that aside, think about the earth, and then yeah, get that like the norm. So yeah, that would be the dream.
The dream. But as you said, sustainable brands right now seem more like a luxury thing. Although fast fashion brands are trying to commit to some extent, do you think that's enough, or we should ask for more and more radical and disruptive changes?
Yeah, I think so. I think my worry with fast fashion brands is that it's a greenwashing, and there's not enough education to consumers to understand that it's amazing that they can change their packaging, but that doesn't make them good just because they've swapped from plastic to cardboard or whatever it is. And I think education is a huge part of the conversation, in that the more people know, the more they understand that what fashion are doing isn't always great. Like I don't want to call out brands, but just because you've got a conscious range doesn't make you sustainable, because you're still making that product on a huge quantity and it's still going into sale and still not being purchased at the end of the day. Which sort of like led me to do a made to order model, because everything that's made is bought and nothing is made that's just going to end up in landfill or not be loved. But yeah, it's definitely like a conversation that needs to be more wide range, because at the moment I feel like it's, if you've got an interest in it or you're sustainable in another part of your life, whether it's like the way you get to work or how you eat and things like that, yeah, fast fashion needs to be better.
And it's not only the businesses that need to take responsibility. Along this year's event, we're trying to consider the role of consumers and how can we as individuals engage more actively in like less harmful practices.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, like fast fashion does get a bad name, but like I said before, that is some people's only option. So it's maybe telling them, okay, if you keep this item and wear it 30 times, you will reduce the carbon footprint of that item by, I think it's like 30%. So reuse your clothes, don't wear them once, keep them, fix them, mend them, pass them on, give them to your friend, borrow things from each other. Like there are ways to make your own wardrobe sustainable wherever you're shopping from. But not everyone knows that, or even things like how to wash your clothes. I think people in a mindset of like, you wear a top once and you have to wash it. Well, you can get away with just give it a little bit of a spray of perfume, like wipe down any stains. Like you can get away, but we've sort of like been conditioned to think that you have to wash something every time you wear it. But obviously that would save water, and that's like reduces your carbon footprint again, which is amazing. But yeah, there's like loads of little tricks that I think people could adopt that would make such a huge difference. Like if everyone did 10%, that's better than one person doing 100%.
It's funny when, like, especially with the washing and the taking care of the clothes, they say that jeans originally weren't meant to be washed. So you had just to wear them and they will get used to it, or to the dirt. I don't know, but it's curious that now we're really concerned about washing all the time, like, oh, it's got a tiny stain or it's got this. And before, the clothes were also made to last longer,
Yeah,
but the impact it has in every single step. So not only the production, but the washing. And if you don't take care of it, if your wardrobe is like full of damp, it will damage the clothes, and the clothes will go to landfill. You won't be able to recycle even. And yeah, we were talking also to Lynn. She's researching this cycle of the clothes and how it impacts on our daily lives and how we get rid of our clothes. And many of them go to charities. And it's amazing how it's changed our consumption habits. Let's say that we now are like considering just shopping on secondhand clothes, secondhand shops, sorry. And how do you think we're like this pattern has recently become more mainstream? Do you think it's going to stay? We'll shop more secondhand and less new stuff, but more sustainably designed and created stuff?
I think so. I mean, I think it depends like what your style is or what you're looking for. But I think like online platforms like Depop are so big now, and like I know on TikTok like there's always like loads of videos on like Depop hacks and like how to get things online that are secondhand or like sort of like make do amends like that. Sort of like I won't call it a trend, but that was obviously adopted like in the war, and people had to keep those clothes because they couldn't get anything else, but they got on with it and they kept those things and loved them and then sort of like reworked them. And there's been a huge trend for that sort of like now and this year, because suppose people can't shop, they can't go out, people have got less money, so they're taking their old clothes out of the wardrobe and they're reworking them, they're cutting them up and sticking them together and creating something that's new and exciting. And I think that would go well with sort of like the secondhand nature. Like people are going into shops and taking things and fitting them to themselves, which is really exciting because you get an attachment and there's like an emotional attachment to that item that you don't necessarily get from, I don't know, going on the high street in 5 different stores and picking things up on like on a whim that you just oh I like that, I like that. I think it's definitely like an emotional thing because it takes a lot longer to shop. You can't just go online and select what color you want, what style you want. You actually have to go and invest in what you're looking for. So I think it's like a really good thing, and obviously it's stretching the lifetime of that garment, which is like amazing for supply chains and carbon footprint and everything that I keep nagging on about.
Yeah, well, I find it like with changing this behavior, like say consumption behaviors towards more sustainable ones, it takes a lot of time. As you said, it's investing and it's just refusing to find the convenient option and going towards the long one, the long way. But I think it's part of the engagement we have to have with the world. And as you said at the very beginning, the impact we have on the earth, on the people that produce the garments, and also harvest the cotton. So it starts from the very beginning. We need to be conscious because we're quite lucky to live where we live, don't we?
I remember once um, when I first started doing fashion and got my first job in fashion, and they couldn't believe that someone had actually made what they were wearing. That somebody has sat and sewn that, and they just thought it was a machine. But after they've learned that, I feel like their opinions on how they bought clothes changed because they realised that somebody made it and it cost someone's time. But yeah, like it's really bizarre. I was like, what? Like obviously someone's made it. Um, yeah.
But we're collaborating in a project with a startup to write a book for children, and we think the future are them. And how do you think, like, schools and local institutions, organizations should approach this to get to younger generations to change that, well, these conceptions and general assumptions that are like just that common, that we think out of the sudden a t-shirt is made, there's no one behind that.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a book sounds amazing, but again, it's the whole education thing, and it's sort of like, as good as it is maybe doing in schools, it then when they go home they need their parents telling them as well, like, so it's a full circle of knowledge and information. But like, I mean, I have a lot of opinions about the school curriculums and stuff, but having an environmental lesson, like, I never had that growing up. Like, we learned about the world in terms of like geography, science, but we never learned about things like where your food comes from. So have that, like, tell children where that comes from, make them more connected to the environment, get them outside, get them involved in nature, and then it'll trickle down into other aspects of their life, I suppose, like what they eat, what they wear, how they get to school, and where they even things like your electricity, your heating. Nobody thinking things about that. Like, I never learnt where that comes from, and I probably couldn't tell you now. Like, I just pay for it. You know what I mean? Like, you just pay, and then it's there. Or you have like your phone, your TV, and I don't know. There's just like, it's such a huge topic, and it can be so hard to tackle. I suppose it'd just be picking where to start and then go outwards from there and broadening that knowledge. Yeah, it's so good.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. It's been great talking to you. We hope, LFS hopes, that your business is going to start blooming from this year. Hopefully the pandemic will be gone soon. So it will be like a different landscape. I hope so.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the award as well. I've never actually managed to say thank you, but it was really helpful, and good luck to anyone who